Sue Stockdale, and welcome to the Access to Inspiration podcast, the show where you can gain inspiration from people who may be unlike you. We hope their stories and insights enable you to transcend day-to-day challenges and reflect on what you are capable of achieving. Today we are heading into the world of culinary arts, and I'm going to be speaking to award-winning chef Andrew Scott, who knows a thing or two about what it takes to achieve excellence in his chosen field. Andrew was inspired to develop this as a career by his parents, who both worked in the hospitality industry. And after winning a cooking competition at the age of 13, Andrew started working part-time as a pot washer in the kitchens of his local hotel. Following training at college, he was taken on by Simon Haigh at Mallory Court in Warwickshire, England, as an apprentice chef. And after 4 years, he then worked under Simon Rogan at his acclaimed Michelin star restaurant L'Enclume in the Lake District, before he returned to Mallory Court, where Andrew became head chef in 2010, retaining the restaurant's Michelin star for 3 years running. After that, Andrew moved to become head chef at the Curlew, where in just under a year the team were rewarded for their hard work when Andrew gained his first solo Michelin star in the 2014 guide. After that, Andrew joined Sudbury House in Oxfordshire, overseeing Restaurant 56, which won a number of accolades, and during this time he appeared in the Great British Menu on TV. So I think we can definitely learn something about what it takes to achieve and maintain excellence from Andrew. Welcome to the podcast, Andrew.
Hi Sue, thanks for having me.
So this word excellence, our focus on this conversation, it can mean many things to many people. What does it mean to you?
Excellence. So in the chef world, it's all about consistency is a big word for us, and discipline, which produces excellent results. So it's a really strong word, and it's something that we work all day in the hot kitchen environment to produce amazing food. But sometimes we do get a bit caught up in what we're actually doing. We're only producing dinner. We're not building rockets to fly to the moon. We strive for perfection in presentation, in flavour, in our working methods, in the ingredients we use, the way we source the ingredients, the provenance, everything. So it's a real passion. I think you've got to have that passion in your belly for cooking to be able to put up with the lifestyle and the hours, etc.
I can understand you have a real passion and commitment to excellence. I guess as a leader, when you're working in a kitchen, how do you convey that expectations to other people around you? How do you do that?
That's a hard one, and I learned a lot about man management, basically, from Simon Haigh at Mallory Court. So he used to say the cooking's the easy part, it's the managing the people is the hard bit, and that is so true in any career or any job. It's, once you've been in the industry for long enough, you can sort of do the cooking with your eyes closed. It was man management of each boy or girl in the kitchen, knowing what motivates them and what gets them going. Everyone's different. It's a team game, cooking in a kitchen. It's a brigade system, so you've got that discipline. Brigade system of sort of like the army. There's respect levels, etc. People are sort of reporting into the top chefs, the sous chefs and the head chefs in the kitchen. You're running a tight ship because at the end of the day, it's a business and you want to make money. And you also want to achieve accolades to entice customers in. So there's a real complex environment going on. But you have to work next to people, spend time individually, even if you are the executive chef. Pick up a knife, go and work next to the commis chef, have a chat with them, talk to them, see what inspires them, see what they want to do next. In the corporate world, which is where I am now, they do lots of paperwork, paper trail things to see how you feel and to what your aspirations are. But there's no time for that in a kitchen. It's very practical. You're on your feet. So you need to talk face to face. And then you also need to understand if somebody does something wrong, how you discipline them or how you correct them. Because just by screaming and shouting at them might not work. Pulling them into a room on their own and having a chat with them and telling them this is why this went wrong, etc., etc. It's a real balance. You're individually managing maybe 10 people every day, so it's quite stressful.
It can certainly sound like that. And as you say, it's about together you're striving for consistency and excellence. And the Michelin star is the assurance, I guess, that diners have of the quality that they're going to receive in a restaurant. For those listeners in the podcast that maybe aren't familiar with what a Michelin star is, tell us a bit more about that. What is a Michelin star?
It's a benchmark, I suppose, in the chef world or foodies, I suppose, people who follow the guide. So the Michelin guide was invented by a tyre manufacturer for people who had cars back in the sort of 1920s, 1930s. And it would give people advice of where a good restaurant was to stop and eat. along your journey, where, from A to B. And it's sort of evolved now into this really glamorous red book that everybody follows and waits every year with bated breath to see who wins the awards, who loses the awards. It's a bit like a soap opera, but it basically unlocks a segment of customers that you would never attract if you didn't have one. And so certain clientele that have trust in you, that you're using very, very good ingredients, sourcing maybe locally, you are putting 100% effort into everything you'll do. Everything's made fresh, in-house, nothing's bought in, and really inventive food. So pushing the boundaries. And then I think 1 star is, they say it's all about the food. Up to 3 stars, I think Gordon Ramsay said, or Marco Pierre White said, I think it was in a documentary I remember watching when I was younger, that you should be able to smell the chef's aftershave in the dining room when you have 3 Michelin stars. So you should be able to feel the character of the chef in the dining room, basically.
So there's one thing getting to a Michelin star, and there's another thing retaining a Michelin star. How do you do that? Because I know you did it 3 times when you were in one restaurant that you were part of.
Yeah, so we retained, at Mallory Court, I retained the star, and that was just about keeping everything consistent. So the dishes are sort of trademark dishes. Everything is seasonal. We had a lovely kitchen garden at Mallory Court, so you could literally walk out and see what was in season in England. Because obviously sometimes you can walk around supermarkets and there's strawberries all year round and pineapples and, et cetera, and you don't know what's in season and what's not in season. So you could literally go out and I remember you used to pick a peach off the tree or the vine and just stand in the sun and eat it, and it was warm and it was delicious. So that would sort of inspire you to create dishes quite easily by just wandering around the garden and keeping things seasonal. And it was all about flavour, really. So just making sure that you concentrate the flavour, so that if you're doing a peach dish, it's all about the peaches, and you would just maybe accompany it with some raspberries or something, or some vanilla. That was the star of the show. It's very clear what they want, the Michelin Guide, with food and menus, etc. Trying to win one is a different scenario. You have to play more of an attacking game. I suppose to get noticed, you need to get the Michelin inspector in to your establishment. Whereas Mallory Court was well known, it had a Michelin star for sort of 10 years, and it was a Relais Chateau hotel, which is a famous brand across the world. It was sort of easier. If you're starting up on your own, or you're an independent restaurant or a chef restaurateur, your background, your pedigree really helps to entice them in to see what you're doing. But yeah, you've got to really sort of bang the drum and get them to come. And when they come, then you've got to be 100%. And you don't know when they're coming. They'll book in false names. They may book in their real name. You don't know. They come in a table of 1, a table of 2. They might be hidden within a table of 4. And at the end of the day, you're cooking for your customers. You're cooking for your bread and butter, the people who are going to pay the bills and pay the wages. So everyone should be getting that Michelin star standard experience, from the welcome to the goodbye. Obviously, if you clock that it's an inspector, you try a little bit harder. And maybe sometimes that's the wrong thing to do, because they can feel it, the other side, that you're trying too hard. You almost need to be just sort of natural and just cook as if you were cooking for your friends or your mother or just the local guys from down the road. So I'm guilty of that too. I remember when I left Mallory, I went to a restaurant called the Curlew, and I got a Michelin star there in 2012, I think it was now. And the Michelin inspector came in and he ordered a glass of orange juice, because they're drive-in, so they don't usually drink too much. They might have 1 glass of wine with lunch or dinner. And he ordered a glass of orange juice, and my restaurant manager hadn't ordered any orange juice from the supplier, or hand squeezed it, or whatever we were serving. And I remember one of my junior sous chefs running upstairs to the staff accommodation and brought down a carton of Tesco Value orange juice that we put in a lovely tumbler with some ice, and the Michelin inspector drank it and didn't say anything about it. So, at the end of the day, it's subjective. They're human beings just like me and you. They have an opinion just like me and you. And they have a lot of power, I suppose, in their hand. They can make or break a restaurant, or make or break someone's career.
You're making me think now about how one determines and spot a Michelin inspector. A bit of detective work required?
There's a few things. You could be fooled by a normal person, that someone isn't a Michelin inspector or an inspector of any guide. You've got lots of different guides, and they're all prestigious. They're all ones that you want to be in and achieve in. But a single diner, a fairly early table, they'll maybe order a tasting menu on their own, which could be quite a lonely night, if you're sat there eating 8 courses on your own. So in a nice restaurant, you'll always, if you've got a table of 1, you'll always put a few nice magazines, like Cotswold Life or something like that on the table for them to flick through in between courses. They will usually have a tonic water when they come in, or an orange juice with their canapes, like we said. and they will probably order one glass of wine, and it will usually be a half-decent glass of wine. It won't be your house. It will be like a sort of mid to high-end glass, depending on what you've got on your menu. And that's it, really. They either leave afterwards and say nothing, or they will leave their card and say to the restaurant manager, could I see Andrew? They'll have done their research. They're very, very thorough. They know your name. They know everything. I remember sitting with one at the Curlew, and he had a broadsheet paper folded in a quarter, and he seemed to know everything. He knew I trained at North Oxfordshire College in Banbury. He knew my background. He knew where I'd worked, everything, my age. It was amazing because I didn't know anything about him, but he seemed to even know my shoe size. It's quite unnerving. If they're looking at you to have a star, they might visit you 2, 3, 4, 5 times. Multiple inspectors. You'll get ones from Spain and France coming over to make sure that the 1 Michelin star standard in the UK is the same as in Spain or in Italy or in France. There's a crossover, and they will give their feedback as well. And I think if one of the inspectors says it's not worthy of the accolade, you don't get it. So you've got to be on your game every single inspection.
And I imagine that it's not just about consistency and maintaining excellence, because the bar gets higher and higher. You've got competitors out there that are also achieving excellence. So how do you keep your finger on the pulse, if you like, in terms of what are food trends, what's changing in the marketplace, so that the bar of excellence can keep getting higher?
You've got your sort of team, first of all. That's your core, that's your nucleus, and you're constantly coming up with ideas. And from the commie chef would have an idea up to myself, and you would let it run and make the dish, and we'll all stand and eat it together and see if it's worthy or good enough or it needs tweaking. A lot of the dishes came from nostalgia. So we would do like a pre-dessert, the last restaurant with dandelion and burdock. I remember doing a custard, like a bird's custard ice cream using the actual bird's custard powder. And I remember the Michelin inspector coming around and seeing it in my dry stores and asking me what the hell I had that for in my dry stores. And I told him, I said, it conjures up nice memories of childhood. When you think about childhood, it's usually happy times. So when you're sat in a restaurant, you've had a few glasses of wine and you get this lovely nostalgic flavour, it makes you feel very comfortable, especially in a high-end restaurant where you can feel a little bit stiff, sort of stiff and out of place. It just makes you feel a little bit, you understand the food because those flavours you associate with comfort. Then the other things, it's got easier for me, I suppose, with social media, so especially Twitter and Instagram, following all of your chef friends or people that you aspire to be like, amazing chefs out there that have achieved the highest sort of accolades, and you can see what they're doing and their flavour combinations and their presentation. It's all very visual now. When I was younger, before all of that, I used to collect cookery books like they were going out of fashion. And I dread moving house now because I have that many cookery books. I think the next time I move, I might die. My wife thinks it's hilarious, the amount of cookery books I've got. Half of them are in the garage, and I don't read them, but I just can't get rid of them. So yeah, I've collected cookery books. I've read so many cookery books. That's all I read. I don't really read any fiction, non-fiction. I sort of just sit and read cookery books or autobiographies of chefs. I sort of live and breathe it. And then the final thing is to save your money when you're a young chef because you're not on very good wages. As you go up the brigade system, you get better wages. So, and you go out with some of the boys or the girls from your brigade or friends from different kitchens, and you go into London maybe, eating some of the top restaurants around there, and you get inspired, even if it's just one flavour combination or one dish or one sort of presentation. You take something from every meal that you eat at, basically. And we're sort of like magpies, I suppose. Every chef likes to say that they sort of invent things from nothing, but they're not. They've been inspired some way, whether it's reading or eating out or looking at social media.
So you do have to keep your eye on the outside world, not just what's going on in your own kitchen.
Yeah.
I get the real sense from how you're describing it, Andrew, that there's a relentless sense of pressure to perform night after night, day after day, to maintain that standard of excellence. And not everyone's good at coping with pressure. How do you cope with it, and how do you get the best from your team?
I suppose I thrive under pressure. I love to work in the buzz of a kitchen in a service. I can't describe it. It's almost like I'd say it would be like a drug. It's sort of an adrenaline rush. You feel absolutely knackered afterwards. But it's the preparation through the day, the lead up, almost like being an actor in the theatre, I suppose. You practice your lines and then you have to perform every night. I think a lot of chefs say that about doing a service or a dinner, especially in a high-end kitchen. But I think when you've got some really good people around you that you've trained up and you've worked with for years, you need that trust and that loyalty around you. And when everyone's working at that pace and at that level, the feeling is amazing when you're putting food on a plate that's perfectly cooked and it's presented perfectly on a beautiful plate that you've maybe sourced, and the cutlery and the way that it's going to be served by the waiter and they've matched the wine to it. And I think you get a buzz as a chef of putting a smile on your customer's face. At the end of the day, that's what it's all about, is making people happy with food and proud. And especially when you're cooking for friends or family and you walk out at the end of service and go and sit with them and have a glass of wine or a beer, and they're like, wow, that was amazing. And that's the whole point in being a chef, I suppose. It's a bit of an ego thing, but also it's a huge passion. And I think just making customers happy, it's like the hospitality gene, I suppose. You've either got it or you haven't. When people come around my house, I run around, would you like a drink? And I've got, some crisps out, some nibbles, or you're sort of very welcoming person, warm person. I think all chefs have to have that in them to want to do the job. Even though the pressure's hard, it's worth it, basically, at the end of the day. And to chill out, I used to, when I was on split shift, so you'd sort of work 8 in the morning to sort of 2, 3 o'clock, and then back in at 5, I would join the gym, and I love swimming, so I'd go swimming on my own, and then, do sort of half an hour, 40 minutes swimming constantly, and then go and sit in the jacuzzi, maybe have a steam, hot shower, back to work and feel refreshed and de-stressed. Or just go for a walk, or have one of the guys comes around your house and you buy a load of cakes from the shop and just drink tea and cake all afternoon. There was many ways of just relaxing. We'd sometimes get a football and go and have a kick around in the park as a team. You spend a lot of time with these people. Front of house as well, it's really important to get on with the front of house because they're your eyes and ears in the dining room. And if you're winding them up, they're not going to do a great job for you. So we used to do lots of team things together. And then just really, really appreciate your days off, your time off and your holidays, and make the most of them. Always looking at booking things up in advance if you can, if you've got set days off, and going to see family and friends. It always used to make me feel like I'd had a bit of a reset, because you get caught up in this cycle of work in the kitchen, and you're in this sort of stainless steel box with no windows, and it's very noisy and hot.
It sounds really like a vocation. It's not just something that people go into half-heartedly.
It's a lifestyle, I'd say. Yeah, it is a lifestyle.
How does one conjure up nostalgia with plant-based diets and vegetarian food becoming far more of our diet as a nation?
I think in the future we'll all eat more of a balance of food, of vegetarian, vegan dishes, meat and fish. And I think the vegan dishes will become a lot more diverse and a lot more delicious and a lot more up everyone's street. Everyone will want to eat a little bit more like that. At the moment, there's only certain ingredients that we can produce dishes with in restaurants. And we need to do a lot more research and be a lot more inventive and creative with those dishes. But it's tough when you're not a vegan or a vegetarian yourself to try and invent dishes that you think a vegetarian or a vegan would enjoy. As someone who eats everything, you can get yourself inspired by sort of a lovely grilled piece of fish with some, samphire and some chorizo or something on the top. It's tough when you're just using vegetables, and then it's even tougher when you're taking dairy away.
I'm imagining then perhaps that detective work in future will involve understanding more, stepping into the shoes of those people who are vegetarian or have plant-based diet.
Yeah.
So I guess my final question to you, as somebody who loves food myself, is there one ingredient that I should have in my store cupboard at all times that really will be the thing I always should have as a go-to ingredient?
I thought about this one a lot, and I don't want to be too boring, but my wife always takes the mickey out of me because I love citrus. I love using lemon juice in cooking. Now, not to make things taste of lemon or lime, I love lime as well, but lemon, when I was training in the kitchens I've trained in, especially under Simon Haigh, who was a very classically trained chef, and he had a Michelin star for like 20 odd years consecutively. He was an absolute maestro at fishmongery, butchery, seasoning. And he would teach me how to season. And we would always have salt and pepper, but we'd always have half a lemon next to the salt and pepper. And we would add drops of lemon juice to season, say, a leek and potato soup. Now, the leek and potato soup wouldn't taste of lemon. It would just accentuate the flavour of the leek, how delicate it is. And as you're training like that under someone who's really knows their stuff, you start to appreciate what citrus can do. It can really bring the flavour out in lots of different foods without showing itself as there's tons of lemon in there. So I would say you always need to have a lemon in your fridge or your store cupboard, wherever you want to keep it, next to your salt and pepper. And honestly, just a few drops of lemon in a few different bits and pieces, try it. You'll notice a change.
Fantastic. Well, it's great to get that top tip from one who knows what one's talking about. It's been a real pleasure to speak to you, Andrew, and I'm definitely off out to the shops now to buy myself a lemon.
It's quite a cheap one. I could have gone truffles, couldn't I, or something like that, but lemon, it's quite a humble one.
Absolutely, and the listeners are around the world, there's probably access to a lemon.
Yeah, everyone can get a lemon, exactly. So, good.
Thank you so much for your time today, Andrew. It's been great to talk to you.
No problem, Sue. Thank you very much.
It was great to speak with Andrew and get a better sense of the relentlessness that is required to stay at the top of your game in these top-class kitchens. As always, if you enjoyed this podcast, please take a moment to leave us a review on Apple Podcasts or on our website, accesstoinspiration.org. In the next episode, I will be talking to Paul Rose, a man who has been at the forefront of exploration and adventure for almost 50 years. He was recently on our TV screens in the UK, presenting a series on the Lake District, and will be explaining in the podcast why he loves the outdoors and remote places. I hope you will join us then.